Hi everybody, and welcome to today's Cosmic Chat with Debbie Sugarbaker. I am so excited to be here with you today because we are going to be talking about manifesting and creating and co-creating the lives that we desire and feeling the feelings around that. And I'm going to be bringing on Tara Greenway, who is the creator of Beyond Your Belief. She is a master theta healer, among other things. So let me just add her and we will get started. And we're going to be talking about manifesting. So if you want some inspo on that, or you know anyone who does, tell them to join us live. Let me see. Any second. Hi, Tara.
Hi, we did it. Yay.
Yay. I'm so excited to see you and to connect with you.
I'm so excited too. It's so good to see you live.
Same. I just was explaining to everyone that I've been following your content recently, and it's so powerful and inspiring, especially around manifestation and releasing emotion. So I'm so excited to talk to you about that today and kind of provide that energy for our, listeners to connect with.
Definitely. It's something, manifesting is something that's always kind of been a hot topic for like 10 years or something, but definitely obviously around the new year. It was the January 1st, Lunar New Year is coming up, and people start really thinking about it. And manifesting is getting a little bit, or at least New Year's resolutions are getting a little bit of a bad rep now, rightfully so in a certain way, because everybody's like, this year and they set these unrealistic goals and expectations. And then research shows that by the end of January, like 80% of them have just failed. And then they feel worse instead of better about themselves. And so it's not helpful. But I still like New Year's because I think it's a time to look back and go, well, for one thing, it's time to celebrate. And then it's a time to be like, okay, what is the stuff that is not working for me? And what is it that I do want,
Right.
But instead of like thinking like, okay, here's the things I'm going to manifest, because I've been trying to help people do that for like the 18 years of my healing career, right? and sometimes people just like, oh yeah, I changed my beliefs and now I have everything I wanted to, but not all the time. And those are the people that I want to like make sure that I'm also supporting. It's not the people who are just like success stories within 6 months, but the ones who are like, I still don't have it. I still don't have it. And it's like real stuff, like I still don't have my soulmate.
Yeah.
I still am not like making any money from my healing biz or whatever it is, it's real stuff. And so that's what I started to look at it in a different way now, of like, well, what mode are you in when you're looking to manifest and when you're just in your day-to-day life? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. It's interesting what you're talking about, because something that's come up for me a lot recently, and I'm going to go into it more like in another, section, another live or something.
Yeah.
Another thing is working with the solar plexus, which is all about that ability, that capability, and that worthiness and the deservingness. And for a lot of people who are super sensitive, I think, or fall more on the empath spectrum, it's like we have a lot of issues kind of around the solar plexus. And, we tend to find ourselves in situations where it's like, we just can't like get into that place where we're like, we deserve it. Well, we can see how everybody else around us deserves it. We can help somebody else deserve it. But it's really hard to kind of like get ourselves into that place energetically. So I love that you work on, different levels, but I just thought I would put that out there as kind of,
you're mentioning like what's hard for a lot of people, and especially empathic people, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really good way of looking at it, because it's not just that, well, I guess I'm not doing such and such right. Like people are so hard on themselves and kind of come to the conclusion, well, either this technique doesn't work, this technique of manifesting, or I'm just unable to do it, which is usually what people do. I just can't do it. I don't know why. So I kind of developed these 4 different modes. I didn't develop them. I observed them. in different clients and in myself, honestly. Because I find that's often what people are coming from in not just in medicine, but in their whole lives, I mean, there's not that much difference between just your whole life
Right,
and
because we're manifesting all the time, right?
we're manifesting all the time, and we're manifesting consciously and subconsciously. And I want to say too that there's other stuff that happens to us that we didn't manifest for, and it's not our fault. I mean, life still happens. We can't control what other people do. We can't control what's going on in politics or in any, pandemic, that's going through the world or whatever. Like not everything is within our control, which drives some people crazy. But I find that often people are coming from either victim, and I confess that I come from there sometimes because I just feel like, oh, but I try so hard and I just want the best for everyone. And why are people so mean? Like that's a victim mentality, honestly. Or they might come from, I call it procrastinator, or sometimes perfectionistic procrastinator, because that can be what procrastination is about. It's not like you're lazy. I've never met anyone who's lazy. It's that you want everything to be so perfect that you're afraid to start on it. And then bypasser, spiritual bypassing, which is just like, oh no, positive vibes only. I can't think about anything negative. Don't anybody say anything negative to me ever. And it's a little brittle, And then there's forcers. So forcers are kind of opposite of the others, in that they're not that, like intuitive, like compassionate, they're like, we're gonna get this done. And so forcers are like pretty good at manifesting, but at what cost to themselves, and to those around them sometimes. Yeah.
Like
So
they
it's
might not always be like in the vibe of their, of their health, the best thing for their body. They might be
they've disregarded that largely. Yeah. And that's so hard for them, I don't know. Do you know anybody like that who's like they're like a superstar in their field, but they're miserable and they're not healthy and they never get to spend time with their family or friends?
Yeah, I do know people like that. I mean, I don't know if they're like miserable or not, but I know that they struggle with other aspects, because a lot of times we don't see things as like, we see everything is compartmentalized, right? So we see like, this is work, so I push in this, but then like this goes. And I think that the place that we're all headed towards, especially with like work that you do and the work that we do on the consciousness and energy levels, is like kind of making everything more holistic. So the way that I show up in my life is the way that I show up in my life. And so I feel more balanced.
And in the work, you mean?
And in the work,
Yeah.
and in the relationships, I show up as me. I show up as my authentic self. I mean, I think that's kind of like where we're all trying to get to, but to remove all of those programs from childhood, of perfectionism, of this, it's like we're constantly seeing it. So we're constantly getting this chance to cleanse it.
Yeah. And I mean, you definitely come from that authentic, beautiful place. And like all of these cosmic chats that you're doing, it's amazing what you're putting out there.
Thank you.
I think that a lot of people are coming from that place of authenticity, and they want their relationships and their work life and their personal life and their health, but not everyone. I think at first Instagram was actually really complicit in making the world a worse place in a way, And I think especially since COVID that it has evolved, Instagram, and it is now helping people to like be more authentic and to see like, oh, look at this fail, or look how, this person is really, that I thought was so perfect. Oh my gosh, look, she's really being honest in this live, or whatever it is, but there still is a lot of the sort of the curating our lives. I mean, I think many of us put the worst of ourselves out there on Instagram, nor am I recommending that we should. And there's always those boundaries too about like, if I'm going through something really huge, and this does sometimes happen. I have two daughters, one is 21 and one is 13. And I can really mine my relationships with them and what we all go through, and, and help people with it. But within the past, several years now, it's become clear to me that's not within my rights to do, because that has to do with them. You know what I mean? So like, I don't show the stuff that happens with my kids anymore. I'm really lucky if I get to like post a picture on a holiday with them, you know,
Yeah.
because they're very aware. They're like, "Are you going to post this? Is this for Instagram?" I'm like, "I promise I won't. I am your mom, and I still get to take a picture of you every once in a while." But they're very sensitive to it, as well they should be, because they know, like, oh, if this is going on into the world, it's not okay. So there are parts of our lives that still aren't out there, you know. But yeah, I think people are starting to get more authentic, but certainly not everyone.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. But I think that like, do you feel it's like such a, it's, it's calming, it's exciting. You get, you're connected with something higher. Like I know something that we connect with in theta healing is like, you're able to connect with your higher self. You learn how to do that. You get these tools to kind of connect with that part of ourselves that is always that is connected to inspiration, that is creative, the creativity being like
Yeah,
the big point. Just makes
yeah,
life so much more fun. But I
definitely. And
wanted to
that,
kind of, I know we kind of got off topic, so
oh, well, that's okay. I mean, I'm just like
free flow.
putting it all out there. And I love that word that you use, connected, because we're connected to our higher selves. Of course, we're also connected, in my view, to source, to the universe, the creator of all that is, whatever you want to call that energy. And I've never, I mean, one of the kind of rules, one of the few rules we have in theta healing is, which is one of the modalities that I practice, as you know, and I know you practice it too. But one of the rules is that the client or the person that you're working on has to believe in some kind of divine energy. I think that's just wording. I have never had a client that I couldn't find some word for it. Some people are like, I don't believe in God, so if I have to believe in God, because that's actually how it's phrased in one of the theta healing books, is they have to have a belief in God. And I'm like, oh, I'm from New York, you know, like not everybody. I believe in God. I was raised that way, but like certainly not everyone is. And God was, you know, people were taught that God was a judgmental, horrible male. You know, like why would they believe in God?
Totally.
And so I just say, like, do you mind if we connect to the energy of love that runs through all things? And people are just like, yeah, I would love that. You know, it just depends on how you say it.
I love that.
But it is about that connection. And manifesting is about that connection. And it's about feeling that connection, literally feeling it day to day, which means you have to give yourself some tools to be able to feel it. While you are attracting the things that you would love to have into your life, and while you're just still wanting to attract those things. So, in other words, it's not dependent. Our connection to source is not dependent on whether we're getting what we want or not. It
I
just
love
is.
that's so powerful. Yeah, because then it's something that we can return to anytime.
Yeah.
And like we tend to get into this place where it's like, I mean, even I was sitting outside the other day and I realized like I felt so contracted. And why did I feel contracted? Because I was thinking like this and this and this, like it hasn't happened yet, and this and this and this isn't going. So I was just seeing myself like this little like receiver, and this is God, and I was like kind of like in a very contracted place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was outside and I was praying and I was like, okay, kind of like trying to like seeing things in a different way, and kind of tapped into my poet self. And I was like, okay, well, what can I, instead of that, maybe I need to kind of just appreciate that I'm connected to this divine intelligence and appreciate the earth. And I was sitting over some water and I started like connecting with the trees and just kind of like going into everything that was there and being in wonder also of how, like you said, reflecting on the year in the new year is very powerful time. Like that's one of the reasons why you like the new year. And I thought like, yes, because when we reflect on all the things that have happened in the past that have gone right, we really put that, or the things that I've done where I felt strong, and the things that I've done that were great, giving myself some credit. It's not
Yeah.
something that most of us usually do. We get stuck in that place where we're like, I don't have what I want and I'm not good enough. And like, that's a very contracted place. And I think like what you're saying, that we can always connect to the divine, is being able to just recognize and notice when I'm in that space, and then start noticing, the things around me, and energetically, vibrationally move myself into a different space.
But the question is, how do you move yourself into a different space? So like what you're saying is so beautiful, and I'm so impressed that you just sat there and just did it. And I know that you've worked very hard
Yeah.
at that, though. Some people are just kind of born doing that, but not very many. So
Yeah.
you've worked hard at changing belief systems, and I don't even know what all else you do to get yourself to be able to go from, I don't have this, or this, I've done this and this, and why can't the universe just support me? And you went from that to like, you know, I think I'll just be here now, kind of, and I think I'll feel the wonder of the fact that I'm here. And I love what you said about patting yourself on the back too. I mean, some few people overdo that and get very, egotistical, but the vast majority of people, we never give ourselves credit
Yeah.
for how far we've come, for how much we've come through, So that's amazing that you were able to, like, how were you able to do that?
I just think that it's like a lot of, I think it's just practice. And no, I can totally, and it's also taking care of my vibe. And it's like everything in life. Like if I'm kind of like taking care of things, maybe on a spiritual level, on different levels all the time, that maintenance, then to, it's easier to find that when I need it.
Yes.
If I'm when like if in the day to day my habits are supporting like a spiritual connection, whatever it means, like reading something from, I don't know, some people connect with the Bible, or some people connect with another book, or you connect with the Bhagavad Gita, whatever. Having some sort of practice really helps me. I mean, and I can say there's been times where I would really felt like I was like stuck in the lack, and that was in periods of
Of
grief,
course.
and that can be really difficult. And some of those times, I think you just have to accept yourself, learn different lessons, self-compassion, and always
Absolutely.
find a way to elevate it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what tools you use. And you're saying that you use, I mean, you have a very deep spiritual
Yeah.
practice, and that's what you go back to. And what you're saying, it sounds like too, is that you keep alive the practice of like both your spirituality and your emotional life, like you taking care of yourself. You're keeping that alive every day, even on days where you don't really need it. You're just keeping it alive, so that in those moments where you feel, well, you use such a great word, contracted. In those moments when you feel contracted, you're able to sort of unfold yourself.
Right.
But to do that, we do need to have tools. And so that's what I help people with, because most people don't have them. I mean, I know hardly anyone who just, like I said, is just born like they just are happy and they just deal with everything no matter what. And they just, so that's
No,
what I help
I've
people
seen
do.
you in the moments, I've seen you doing the tapping, and I said,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to do tapping. Or, I've done theta healing and all of these. That's why I think it's so beautiful to build up a toolbox, whatever it is, to become more of an agent in our lives, so we don't feel like the victim of whatever's going on.
Absolutely. And the tapping, I love, and I love theta healing too. Tapping is something that you can use in those moments of like, I just feel awful, and whether, I mean, you mentioned grief, and we all, some of us more than others, but we all have grief in our lives at one point or another. Some people came to grief very young. Some people don't come into it till later in their lives, and then they have never done it before. We all have grief in some form. We all have even trauma in some form. People are getting more informed about this now, but we used to think that trauma was only like if someone died, if you were in a car accident or a war, or if you experienced physical or sexual abuse. We're realizing now that almost everyone, I would say everyone over the age of 18, has experienced some form of trauma, even if it wasn't the type of trauma that we think of when we think of that word. But even to just feel unloved, to feel rejected, to feel constantly judged, to feel less than, to be disciplined in a way that our little heart when we were kids did not understand and was unable to accept. So many things translate into trauma, and we hold these things in our bodies, and we hold them in different parts of our body. Most people hold them in their heart, or in their gut, or in their like shoulders and neck, but but we can hold things, as you know, as a theta healer, we hold different emotions in different systems of our body. And of course we can't go around just like, I'm processing this, I'm, like we can't constantly be processing, but we have to have those moments of, I think, of every day, at least every few days. We have to take all these emotions that we're storing up because we have to work, or we have to parent, or we have to take care of a parent, like all of these things that we're storing up. Even just walking down the street, sometimes we have to store our emotions. We can't like lash out, we have to take care of these emotions so that they get to flow. So I'm very big on that lately, because people just hold so much in, and it's harming them. And tapping is a way of, it's stimulating the meridians in our body like acupuncture does. And it's a very simple way to, you don't use needles, you can just tap like this. And it's a way to access all of those emotions that we're storing up. And so we can do really deep work with a practitioner and access stuff that happened when we were like 6 years old or 13 years old or whatever. And then if we want, we can just use it on a day-to-day basis to just deal with like how we're feeling, because it really bothers me a lot, because I see the effects of it when people are like, positive vibes only, everything's good, everything, I just can't understand that. I honestly can't.
Yeah.
How can we be positive all the time? And why would we even want to be?
Yeah.
It's just, why are we judging some emotions as being bad and negative and you should never have them? And it's not too far a leap to say, well, if you are having those emotions, you're negative, you're bad, you shouldn't be having them, you shouldn't be having them around me. It's actually very limiting. I think people who are saying positive vibes only and stay positive all the time, and your mindset has to be positive,
right.
I think they're trying to help, right? Are they trying to help? But they're really, I find it unhelpful, to say the least. So that's kind of who I speak to. That's who my clients tend to be, is people who are like, I don't know how to be positive all the time. I
want to be real.
I want to be real. I have these feelings. I have anger, especially as women, like, oh my gosh, we're not supposed to act angry ever. Yeah. We're criticized if we show any anger. And I don't mean to imply that men get to do whatever they want to, because they certainly don't either. But just, as women, we're supposed to be so, you and I actually have talked about this once, such good girls all the time, or we have to choose between being a good girl and being a bad girl, which is like, I don't know, because could I just be who I am? That's an idea, right? Like, So I love to be real. I love the authenticity. And if you do find a way, like tapping or anything, any technique you use, it's like feel it to heal it is the most concise way I've ever heard it described. Is like let's let the emotions flow through us. But if we're not even accepting that those emotions exist in us, then how would we help them move through us?
Right.
Denial denial can get us through the day, but it's not a great way to get through your life.
Totally. Eventually some things happen where you're triggered, and that's actually, the trigger becomes a gift. And I had this happen to me, and something happened. I got so triggered, I got so angry. I mean, I was by myself. I wasn't going to take my anger out on anyone, but I just like allowed the anger. I said like, okay, creator, if this is what I'm feeling, this is coming up and this happened, it must all be for a reason and from you, because I believe everything is the divine, so it has to be for my best good. I knew that in my mind, so I allowed the anger, got so angry. And after that anger flowed through, it's like I felt liberated.
I love that. You felt liberated.
I felt a sense of self-worth that I didn't feel before. So in that way, I think that, when you really allow yourself to be real, and the more real you allow yourself to be, there are a lot of gifts in that. The only trick is to make sure, to be kind in the way.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to hurt somebody else.
Right. We don't want to victimize somebody just because they triggered us. And I love what you said, triggered.
It's not always
being
easy.
Triggered. What did you say?
It's not always easy, but we all
It's
make
not.
mistakes.
It's not easy. But you said being triggered is a gift, and you also said after you just let yourself feel angry, and you, oh my gosh, you did it so perfectly. You gave it to the universe. I actually went through an experience a few weeks ago, and one of my ways of self-care and of making sure that I have this equanimity is really what we're talking about. This authenticity, but also ability to go through my day without being triggered, or if I am, I deal with it, you know. And one of the ways I do that is by getting outside. It's one of the reasons that we moved from the city, which I love New York City, but in 2019 we moved to the country. But even when I was in a city, even if you live in a city, like you can still go outside. The sky is everywhere. You know, you can connect to the sky, you can somehow connect to the earth. Often there's water somewhere. In New York, there's, you know, it's two rivers that are surrounding us, and usually there's like a pond, a tree, something. And I was walking in our woods and connecting with nature, and I was trying to do that thing where you be positive, right? Because like I said, I feel like there's I've kind of pinned to like 4 different modes that people are usually in. And as I said, I can slip easily if I don't really be aware of it into victim mode. And I was walking along the woods and I was like, okay, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be, and this is my, like the mode that I teach people to be in instead of their victim or forcer or bypass or whatever, co-creator mode. I was like, creator, I want to be in co-creator mode. Okay, I'm walking along. This is what I want. I'm using all my tools from Vienna Steibel and Joe Dispenza and everybody, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm like, yes, here we go. And I'm walking along. But my heart was heavy because something had happened with one of my kids, and it was something big, you know? And this feeling I had was just like sorrow, disappointment, fear. And I was like, creator, I want to be positive. I want to co-create, but what am I supposed to do with this? And I felt like I could just take it out of my chest. Like it's here. And I this is the way I work with clients too. One of the ways is I'm like, where do you feel that in your body? And they always, I feel it in my heart. What does it feel like? And to me, it just felt like this like heavy, like almost like it looked like a bomb, but it was just heavy. It wasn't going to go off. It was just going to sink like an anchor, like sink me to the bottom of the ocean. And I was like, Creator, what do I do with this? And you know how you hear really clearly from Creator sometimes? What I got was just like, give it to me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just, here, this is it. And it was, what did I say? Sorrow, disappointment, fear. Here, this is it. This is all of it. So Creator didn't say to pretend you don't have that. That's not good to have. That's not positive. Or put that away. Push it further down into your heart until you don't feel it anymore. No. Creator said, give it to me. You know, and not everybody relates to that language of creator and, you know, like that, the pronoun me even, but that's how it felt to me. Give it to, and I was like, oh, okay. And there were some tears, and then I kept walking, and then I was like, oh, now I feel in co-creator. Now I feel in flow, because I didn't deny it. I didn't pretend that it was okay. It's actually not okay. Not what I would have chosen, you know, if I were in control, which I'm not. If somebody else's life, you know, even if it's my kid, I'm not in control of that. They're in control, or they're co-creating it. But it was, you know, that's what I try to get across to people is like, you're going to have like feelings. I'm not sure why everybody's so afraid of their feelings. Yeah. You know, let's not be afraid. Let's just feel them. I think people feel like they're going to be just eaten up by their feelings. You know, like if they feel it.
Totally. I mean, I read something the other day also, which I could relate to, which was like sometimes you feel like if when you were a child, the way that you dealt with your feelings was you kind of, or you weren't like met with maybe like the understanding that you needed. So like it gets like in your energetic system, it gets kind of like locked in, like, okay, so when I have a big feeling that's overwhelming and scary, okay, I need to like deal with it over here. So like I find myself like I've always been but it's also been a positive thing for me because yeah, I've been a person who deals with her feelings by herself, but I've also learned, I've learned so many tools. Like
Yeah.
you were speaking about, like being able to talk to myself, to talk to them, you know, or when you were speaking, I was also, it came to mind like Vienna Stibel's heart song. So sometimes I
Yeah.
sing it out. Sometimes I go into immerse myself in water. Even times, there's been times where I have a bad feeling in my stomach about something, and I'll feel like nauseous and throw up, you know?
And
So
you
I
get
feel
it
like the body
out? You just
needs
puke
it.
it out?
I mean, that's, yeah, it's happened a couple of times. Or just like, even just like making, even if nothing comes out, you kind of just have this like, you
Purge
know, I'm just to
feeling.
get
Yeah.
this like bad feeling out. And
Yeah.
obviously, you know, then it becomes another matter of knowing how to create kind of like protect your energy in a way, you know, because sometimes like if your energetic field is so open, you can pick up things that aren't necessarily ours. Yeah, but there's a reason why we're able to latch onto them, and that kind of like overexposure and openness maybe needs to be dealt with certain boundaries and etc. You know, like
You
energetic
think?
boundaries.
Yes. Yes. And that's been a big issue for me as well, as is feeling other people's feelings, taking them on. And that's what, as empaths, as healers, that's what we do. That's a lot of, it's not what we should do. That's what we tend to do until we get those boundaries. And that's what you probably know, like Vionists, I will call them rainbow children. That's what children who came here to help heal the earth, that's often their go-to mode, is to take in other people's energy so that they can heal it and make it okay. And as you can imagine, it then just toxifies them eventually, you know. And so what we
Creates like a chaos in your system. So then you're like, wait,
yeah,
just everything feels like
they're
chaotic. Yes.
they're totally freaked out. Yeah. And what we can teach rainbow children and ourselves is, instead of taking people's stuff in, is to shine your light out, channel the light from the universe, shine it out, because you'll never, no matter how much you take in, you'll never be able to take in everything. It doesn't work. People have to do their own things. You know, I'm trying so hard not to swear. Their own things. They have to take care of their own stuff. You know, we can't do it for them, but we can. And I feel that we need to shine our light out. Some people have never felt any light their whole lives. I mean, some of the stories my clients tell me are like, oh my gosh, really? That happened to you? And it kept happening, you know, like they haven't felt love, you know?
Yeah.
So they need that download of love. They need to feel love from us, even if it's just the person next to us on the bus. That sounds pervy, but you know, you can shine love out, but this is the trick, have boundaries. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned boundaries, because it's really, really important.
Totally. And I also like kind of have moved into a different like a different mindset, because I used to feel like so kind of upset that I took on everybody's stuff, and kind of like, you know, I'm the empath and they're like more on the other spectrum. I don't even like to use words like that. But what I realize is, no, this is a lesson. Everything is a lesson for me, because like you said in your video with the quote from the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
I love
The quote from Wizard of
power
Oz.
is within you all the time. Like this whole like simulation, yeah, it's kind of like the world responds to how I'm responding within myself. And I know that's a little bit deep, and probably for some people you might need to like take some steps before you actually want to like incorporate it in that way, because you know it, if you are victimized, like you have to, that's something that I had another woman on who was she's an expert in shame and abuse, and she was very adamant that you, if somebody's been victimized, like you must allow, like they were victimized, you know, I'm not denying that, I'm not denying that they're like you can be victimized, right? And that's horrible that you had to go through that. But then I also realized for myself that and which maybe it can connect with somebody here, is that, oh, yes, I could have been victimized in certain situations, yes, but it's also part of my soul's growth. And my soul is infinite and so powerful, and I have everything that I need to incorporate that growth. And like, that's kind of like the way that I take responsibility, is for the healing, not for what happened.
That's beautiful. You take responsibility for the healing, not for what happened.
Yeah.
And I do think
I
that
mean, it is
people
like
get
on one
victimized.
level, you could go there. You could say there are no victims, but in some
No,
situations, just recently my
I wouldn't
mindset
go there.
changed.
Yeah. I think there's victims, but we can't change what happened. We can't go back and change it. And I think that's what a lot of people are actually doing by rerunning things in their minds constantly.
Yeah.
I think they're going back and trying somehow, they don't know how, to change what happened because they so wish that it hadn't happened. They so wish that the other person had done something different, or that they had done something different. But it happened, you know? But what we can do is take responsibility for the healing of it. That's such a good way to look at it. And I think it has to do also with the longitudinal perspective of it. So like if people just believe like, well, I was born, I didn't want to be born, but I got born to these, two people who didn't know how to love, and then I got abused, and then and now this, and now that, and this is horrible, and then we can still work with that, but it's harder. But if people understand that they existed as a soul before they came here, that's the longitudinal part, and that they have their life, and that then they will continue to exist as a soul after they go away from here, then they understand more like, oh, so I don't know really why I came to this particular set of parents, but apparently I had my reasons. And so I guess I wanted to learn about love by not getting any, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then their soul will take that knowledge with them.
Yeah.
And not only will it affect future generations, but even if people like say they don't have kids, or say their kids just will not freaking learn anything from them, or whatever it is, they're still changing the course of humanity because they're changing themselves. And when we change our own vibration, we automatically change the vibration of anyone we come into contact with. And that used to mean a physical thing. And I mean it was vibrational, but it was still mainly like, it was limited, right? How many people did you come into contact with in your lifetime? I guess a few thousand or whatever, But now that we have, social media and online stuff, and we can record classes, and they can keep playing after we're dead, and now it's changed, and we can affect millions of people.
Yeah.
So it matters. The healing that we're responsible for really still matters. Or even if it was just us, that would still matter.
Totally. And a lot of times it's actually relieving. I've been thinking about that recently too, because sometimes I get so stressed in my life. I'm like, oh, I'm this age and I want to do this, and why isn't this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and then I'm like, okay, hold on a second. And this is a viewpoint that, by the way, if anybody wants to learn more about theta healing, definitely check out Tara's work, because she's an amazing theta healer and she's helped me for many years.
Oh, thank you.
And the viewpoint that came to me was like, wait a second. Think about yourself. If I think about what takes the pressure off a little bit, because sometimes when you're so stressed about something and you feel that fear, it's like, okay, I just need to get out of this fear place. And then it's like this of oh, I don't have what I need and I need it now. And okay, wait a second. Imagine myself instead as a soul in the continuum of eternity. And what is the correction, or then I don't want to say correction. What is the thing that you could be correction, or you could use another word. What is the thing that I need to learn right now? What maybe decision do I need to make differently? And maybe it is just not falling into the fear and letting that consume me, that will make the change on the level of my soul. Because if I watch a lot of these NDEs, people who cross over, and when they get over, it's like there were certain points and certain things that they needed to do that were on that spiritual level, on the soul level, to shift. So every situation in our life that appears to be physical, there's that spiritual component, that there's a lesson behind it, something for us that we can learn. And in that, I find a lot of hope, and I find a lot of strength, because sometimes the physical situation can seem really dire or bad,
Yeah.
And then but when we say oh no, what am I supposed to be learning from here? Then we can be really empowered. And that's
exactly. And I love how you put that. I often will say to clients, because some people react negatively to the word lesson. Even though you and I know, lessons are good, but they're like, well, did you learn your lesson? People don't like that. And so for some reason, even just saying, what did you learn, is a little better, but but sometimes people don't like that either. So what I say is, well, what was your soul wanting to learn? And people are like, oh, so it takes them out of that physical, like, no, it wasn't my fault. Or I don't know what I want to learn, but I'm sick and tired of learning it. That's all I know. You know what I mean? And when they start to think about, oh, wait, what does my soul want to learn? Oh, they're immediately then feeling that connection. Like you said a little while ago, we're always connected to our higher selves. Yeah, but that's the least of it. You know, we're also always connected, and I know you know this, to our soul, which is higher than our higher self if you had to draw a diagram, and like I said, to source, to universe. And I love, sometimes I use creator. That's what Ryan Stiebel tends to use these days. 10-15 years ago, Ryan used to say source, and that's when I was first, like 20 years ago, when I was first coming into theta healing. I was coming from saying God, which can be like fine, like some people are fine with the word God. I liked the word God. I was taught to love God. I was taught that God loved me, but I was taught a lot of other things too that weren't maybe so weren't really conducive to flow, let's put it that way. And so when I heard the word source, I was like, oh yeah, source, it's my source, it's where I came from, it's where I'll go to. And so still inside my head, like, that's what I say is source, you know. It's so like non-denominational kind of. I think it really works, you know. And it's
definitely. And also I love the word, because it's like, I've been thinking about this word this week also, source. It's funny that you mentioned it. Of course. And another coincidence. And what I was thinking about it is like, because I've been thinking a lot about where we source our energy from, you know, and like why do people fall into like certain relationship dynamics? It's because I believe that there's certain chords where we're sourcing our energy unconsciously, and we may not have even like consciously agreed to it, but because of the way that our energetic system is set up from childhood, so we're going to be apt to kind of like source our energy from people pleasing or from this type of relationship. And it may not be what we want, but it's like how our energetic field is set up. So it's interesting that you say source, because it's like we can also source our energy from, you know, a lot of things related to ego. You know, we want to feel better than somebody else, from from looking on Instagram that way. From,
oh my gosh,
you know,
the comparison, I call it the comparison compulsion. It's
addiction.
Wrong.
Yeah. So when you say source, it's like, oh, if I can reconnect if I can like unplug myself from these sources that aren't real and they're not really serving me, then I can replug into the real source, the capital S.
That's beautiful. If I can unplug myself from these sources that are not serving me, then maybe I can plug myself into these source with a capital S.
But like you said, you're always connected. We're always connected to the capital
always
S.
It's just feeling our connection. And so that's why I keep saying, well, you better have some tools, whether it's meditation, theta healing, tapping, Donna Eden energy work. Those are the things I do, but there's always, you know, I just when I think I've heard it all, you know, I'm like, no, I know all the healing techniques now. I've heard them all. You know, somebody will say, do you know of such and such? And I'm like, another healing technique that I haven't heard of. And thank God there's so many, because different things resonate for different people, you know. But pick one, you know, pick 5. Pick something, because just to like, I think we've all figured out since 2020, like, this is not working anymore. It gets you only so far. And like I said, you're storing stuff in your bodies, whether you know it or not. It's going to at some point come out, and don't let it just come out. In fact, you mentioned heart song, Vienna's exercise, and heart song, for people who don't know, is just going into your heart. You go into like a meditative state, and then you like basically open your mouth and let sound out whatever feeling is in your heart. And it's called heart song. It is often not like a song at all. It sounds like crying or screaming, or just, you know, like the sound of depression, you know, whatever it is. It's almost like throwing up, like I just need to purge something. And I always say, well, either you'll do heart song or heart song will do you, because if you make time for it, you
Yeah.
know, and heart song isn't usually that fun of an exercise. Like all the theta healing exercises are like pretty fun, except for heart song. So when I kind of assign clients that, like, you need to do heart song sometime in the next 2 weeks, you know, before, and then I check back about it, they're like, oh, I couldn't do it because this and this and this and this, you know, because nobody wants to do it because it's scary and it doesn't feel good at first. But afterwards, what was that word you used? Afterwards, you feel liberated,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like either you'll do heart song or heart song will do you. Either you'll make time to take care of yourself, or at some point you're going to either scream at somebody or get sick or start crying during a meeting when you're just so embarrassed about crying, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I love
It's important
helping people
to take
do
care of
that.
our, yeah, it's important to
Yeah.
take care of our energetic field and to
Yeah.
care enough about ourselves, kind of like Esther Hicks vibe, to care enough about how we feel that we are willing to take the steps that we need to do to keep our to maintain our energy field, which is not always easy. Like I said, especially in relationship, right, with other human beings, it's
Those other
definitely
humans, those are who makes it hard. Yeah.
other humans. But then again, it's like, okay, we're never given more than we can handle. And any challenge that we're given, it's, at least this is a mindset that works for me, is that if I'm given the challenge, it's because somehow I need to grow through it or cleanse through it, you know, and elevate myself in some way. And like
Or
I said,
maybe learn how to take care of myself, you know?
exactly.
I think that's, especially with women, a lot of times we're just not. We're taking care of literally every person in our lives, every person in our family, every person at work. We're taking care of everyone. And sometimes that's what we need to learn is, oh, I guess I should take care of myself. You know, that can be a lesson.
Definitely. Definitely. So I wanted to see just before, I know that we've been, first of all, I love how we just went totally off the
The
cuff.
time just went so fast. We're
It was
just
so
like,
much fun.
yeah.
Yes. But I wanted to see, I know that you do group manifesting calls and not calls, you do actual manifesting groups, right? Or workshops.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, I just did one last Friday. In fact, if people want the recording, it was really cool last Friday. I called it Not Just Another Manifesting Masterclass, because we don't talk about what are you going to manifest and what, and then stay in a high vibration. And sorry, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I'm getting texts. But we focused on like, okay, what keeps coming up every single year on that manifesting list? Let's look at that and let's look at what mode you're in that is actually preventing you from getting that. So if people want that recording, we had a really nice group of folks there, but we did record it with people's permission. So people can email me or they can just direct message me here on Instagram. But if they want to email me at Tara@beyondyourbelief.com, they can do that. But go ahead. What were you going to say about? And also, if people want to just I have like a free get unstuck session because I find people are stuck. So they can contact me again, either here or go to beyondyourbelief.com. But yeah, so you want me to do a thing? What do you want me to do?
Well, yeah. So also about the unstuck, yeah, we're just now in the Mercury retrograde shadow period. And through like a whole time of kind of like reassessing things. So it's, I think a lot of people have felt that, although now it feels like a little bit more open. But
it does, yeah.
But yeah, definitely check those resources out. And then I was thinking, because it's so powerful to do things in group and in connection with other people, and even if we don't have a lot of people on right now, for the people who will watch this, can we do either a clearing session or a manifesting session, whatever comes in for you?
Okay, sure. Okay, so you want me to just kind of connect with everyone and ask source what people would most need?
Yes.
Okay, so as you know, Debbie, I'm just feeling my connection that's already there, and I invite everyone to do this. So let's take a deep breath. I invite you to close your eyes if you want to. I know we don't usually close our eyes on Instagram. We usually look straight into the camera, but if you would like to, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a few moments, and then breathe out slowly, slowly through your mouth. This actually, just in taking that deep breath down, regulates your nervous system. Try to let your shoulders just relax, you guys. And even like roll your head a little bit. And now just envision going down into the earth, allowing a ball of energy to come up, all the way up through your feet, your legs, through each chakra of your body, up your crown chakra, and going all the way up like it's in this tube of light, up, 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 up through the sky, out of our galaxy, out of our universe. You're just envisioning your already existing connection to Source, the universe, the Creator, all that is. So from that place, and you can do this whenever you want, you guys. This is just feeling the connection that's already there. And I'm just asking, what do people need? And the first thing I'm getting is hope. So people are feeling kind of like hopeless, but not even admitting that they feel hopeless because, like I've been saying, it's not the thing that you're supposed to say. So in Theta Healing, we do something called downloads, which is just like you would download your computer with a certain program, we can download ourselves from the universe with your permission. So this works live and recorded. So if you are watching this live or later, and you could just say yes to receive these downloads. So would you like to know that it's possible and safe, what it feels like and how, and that you deserve to and are willing to feel hope? Just say yes. And also, now I'm getting that you need the definition of hope. So I'm just going to ask, what is the definition of hope? Because I like to know. And it's kind of like a spiral. So we kind of tend to think of hope as like, well, it's like this ball of light that you should have. And I just don't have it. And I can't feel it. And I can't grasp it. And I can't. But what I'm getting is that hope is more like a spiral of it's like a very wide spiral of energy that we're just kind of like, we're just in it. Like you can't get out of it. It's like what I keep saying about our connection to Source. It's just there. You can not feel it, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So hope is like this spiral of glowing energy that's all around us that we can kind of relax into. So now I'm downloading you with the highest and best definition of hope, whoever wants that. And also, I'm getting more discipline, which is a weirdly not Tara Greenway thing to get, because it's something people come to me a lot with. I want to be more self-disciplined. I want to lose weight. I want to, and it's really never about that. It's never about discipline. It's never about losing weight. It's always about more like love or, being safe but so I'm asking now, just really quick before we finish up, what this thing is about discipline. And what I'm getting is that it's like think less about being self-disciplined and more about being aligned. Because it's really, really what we say when we're like, I wish I had more self-discipline, I don't have self-discipline, is I keep falling out of alignment with my true self, and I don't know why. So would you guys like to know that it's possible and safe, what it feels like and how, and that you deserve to and are willing to and able to live within your alignment with yourself and with the universe? So I'm giving you that download now. Yeah, and that, one thing I've noticed in my meditation practice lately, and we can just open our eyes from there, is that when I used to like always go, I can't meditate, and I started to be able to like meditate more. Like now I can do it because I keep practicing it. And what I realized was, when I was saying I can't meditate, I used to bring myself back from, when your thoughts wander, and I'd be like, oh, stop it. Why do you always have to think about stuff like that? Just think about your breath. Well, no wonder I didn't want to come back to that. It was being reprimanded. Like, that sucks. When I finally started softening my own self and would bring myself back more like, oh, you know what? You were thinking about that. And it makes sense that we're thinking about that because you're so concerned about it. But we're just going to think about our breath right now, okay? Then I wanted to come back because I was being kind to myself. It was like, oh, good. I want to go back to that space of light. That's what alignment is. It's that. It's not like, oh, damn it. And we can't be slapping ourselves in the face emotionally or psychically.
Right.
We just come back. We go, oh, I'm back in alignment now. Okay. Got it. It's so nice to be back in alignment. That's it.
Beautiful. Wow. I still feel like I'm flying a little bit.
In a good way, or do you feel ungrounded? Because I can ground us back down if you want.
Oh, no.
I think
I'm good.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We used to always ground people back down. Now we're finding that people are grounded. What they need is that connection up. Most people. And if anybody is feeling like super floaty or like weird, just imagine coming back down into your body, going all the way back down through all your chakras, through your feet, and back down into the earth. And then you can bring it back up. But most of us need that sort of lift of feeling our connection up.
That's so beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much.
Well, Debbie, thank you for having me. This has been sort of delightful. So thank you.
Delightful. It's been so much fun. And something that just came to mind, which I'll share because it just came to mind, was in those moments where you're like, oh, did I do this right? Did I not do this right? If you ever find yourself in those moments questioning, to anybody who's listening to this, for whoever, it just like came in when we were in the theta. It was like, just come back. Remember that the soul in our connection to the divine is always secure, and it's like we can always reach for that. So we can say, like, you know what, instead of going into that doubt and worry, say, you know what, but maybe I didn't say the right thing, or maybe I didn't but I know that the light is with me anyway, and it'll be okay. And that will prevent you from like overreacting and trying to control and trying to manage. So
absolutely, Debbie, I love that. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you again, Tara.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.